In this last video for Chapter 6, I wanted to work through a couple of example questions just so you can get a better sense for how these tree diagrams work and how they can work in connection to this idea of conditional probability. So the first problem that we're going to look at asks the question, what % of all adult internet users visit video sharing sites? So we've got some information that has been collected for us. I know it's a little sloppy, but did my best. So here's what we know. We know that the probability of an adult internet user being age 18 to 27 happens to be 27%. The probability that an adult internet user is ages 30 to 49 is 45%. And the probability that an adult internet user is 50 plus is 28%. So those are the first three probabilities that we need. The second three probabilities below the green line indicates the percentage of adult internet users in that particular age category that said yes, they do visit video sharing sites. So for the 18 to 29-year-old group, 70% of them said yes, they visit video sharing sites. For the 30 to 49-year-old group, 51% of them said yes to visiting those sites, and 26% of those ages 50 and older said that they visited video sharing sites. So you can see how we use that conditional probability notation to describe those conditional probabilities. So again, our question is, what % of all adult internet users visit video sharing sites? So to answer that question, one way that we can figure that out is to set up a tree diagram to help us organize our data and figure out how we can go about answering this question. So we're going to start with our initial point, which is all of our adult internet users. And in this case, we're actually going to have three branches to our tree. One branch is going to be, actually I'm going to rewrite these, be a little better. Our first branch is going to be the 18 to 29-year-old group. Our second branch will be the 30 to 49-year-old group. And the last branch will be the over 50 crowd. Once we've got those three branches set up, the next thing we want to do is indicate the probabilities that are associated with each branch. We already said that 27% of our users were from 18 to 29. We said that 45% were between 30 and 49. And we said that 28% were over 50. From there, we can use those conditional probabilities that we saw on the last slide to work out the next branches on our tree. For each of these groups, there are two possibilities. They could have either said yes or no to the question, do you visit video sharing sites on the internet? We were told, as you saw on the last slide here, that 70% of those who are 18 to 29 said yes to that question, which means the remaining 30% of that population answered no. So again, our two options are yes or no to each of these. And then for the 30 to 49-year-olds, 51% of them, I think it was 51, right? Yep. 51% of them said, yes, we visit video sharing sites, which means 49% of them said no. And then for our over 50 crowd, we've got 26% who said yes, which means 74% said no. So we've now filled in all of the various information that we were given on the last slide into our tree diagram. And we can now use this to figure out what % of all adult video or internet users would answer yes to being asked the question, have you visited video sharing sites? Because if you look along our tree, that means that we want to take into account the 18 to 29-year-olds who said yes, the 30 to 49-year-olds who said yes, and the 50-year-olds who said yes. So how are we going to do that? Well, again, our probability is all adult internet users who visit, I'll just say visit video. You know what I mean. So that means we need to figure out what overall percent of our adult population are those 18 to 29-year-olds who visit video sharing sites. So to find that bit of our probability, we just multiply those two things together, and we can do that using our conditional probability formula. So this is going to be 0.27 times 70%. And then, of course, onto that we need to add the 45% of our population that's 30 to 49, but only 51% of them watch video or visit video sharing sites. So that's going to be 0.45 times 0.51. And then, of course, we need to tack on the last group of adults. 28% of them are 50 plus, and of that 28%, 26% of them visit video sharing sites. So we're just doing a little bit of multiplication here, and then you're going to sum up those three probabilities that you get, and you should come out with 0.4913. So slightly over 49% of adult internet users have visited a video sharing site. So there's one example. Let's do one more. So the next question we want to answer is, what is the probability that an 18 to 29-year-old will answer yes to saying that they... Oh, excuse me, I'm saying that backwards. Sorry, what percent of adult internet users who visit video sharing sites are aged 18 to 29? Sorry, that's the question that we're wanting to answer. And in order to answer that question, we're going to have to calculate this conditional probability that I've written on the screen. So again, the question that we're looking to answer is, what percent of adult internet users who visit video sharing sites are between the ages of 18 and 29? Notice that this is a little bit different than the information we were given originally. A couple slides ago, we were given sort of the reverse of this. We were told that internet users ages 18 to 29, 70% of them did visit video sharing sites. What we want to know, though, is of all those adults who visit video sharing sites, how many of them are 18 to 29? So we're asking a slightly different question here. In order to answer this question, what we want to do is use that conditional probability formula that we've talked about. And remember, I'll write that up here on the next slide, just to refresh your memory. That said, that the probability of event A, given that event B has occurred, is equal to the probability that A and B occur, so the intersection of events A and B, divided by the probability of event B. So let's translate that conditional probability formula into the situation that we're looking at. In our case, that means we want to know what is the probability of the intersection of the events a person is 18 to 29, and they answered yes to watching videos on video sharing sites. And then we're going to divide that by the probability of any adult answering yes to having visited a video sharing site on the internet. Now that last probability in the denominator is what we just calculated on the last slide. And that was equal to 49.13%. So we'll be able to just substitute that value in for our purposes in a moment. What we need to do, though, is calculate the probability that an adult internet user is both ages 18 to 29 and said yes to watching videos on the internet. So in order to do that, we're going to have to go back to our tree diagram. And this shouldn't be too complicated, because all we need to do is read that branch of the tree that we're interested in. We know that 27% of our internet users are between the ages of 18 and 29, and we know that 70% of those 27% of users answered yes to our survey question. So in order to calculate the intersection of those two independent events, all we have to do is multiply those two values together, and we will get 0.1890. So we can fill that into our formula. That means our numerator is 0.1890. We already said that our denominator is the probability that we calculated previously, so that's 0.4913. And when you divide those two values, you should get a probability of about 38.47%. 38.47%. So about 38.5% of all adult internet users are between the ages of 18 and 29.